I'm sure everyone was aware that there were going to be Reshiram and Zekrom floats at the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade last week, but the question that was on everybody's mind was, is Reshiram's furry ding-dong going to make an appearance? And the answer, well, thanks to people who actually have a very good eye, is yes, it did make an appearance, but it was hidden by the flames that were on the float. At least I think they were supposed to be flames. So, yeah, nobody complained about obscene imagery or anything. You lose this round, redneck soccer moms! Well, no, I didn't want to go down there just yet. There was one more dead end that I wanted to check out before going there. And there's nothing down there, so let's head back to the end where there is an unknown script. Let's check it out. Friendship. All lives touch other lives to create something anew and alive. So that's what it says, even though it doesn't make much sense. So we are going to take the treasure here, a nugget. HM05D5. We're going to use this in not too long. And just going to pick up those other two items. Odd Incense, Mind Plate. And after that, okay, there's text here. 3 beings were born to bind time and space. They're talking about the pixie trio of Yuxi, Mesprit, and Azelf. Now what I'm going to do, since I got the defog HM, I'm going to use it on Drifloon, because we're going to need it in a matter of minutes when we're going to go visit the Lost Tower. So yeah, those 4 moves. What are we going to axe? I guess minimize doesn't really make much of a difference anyway, since I'm not using it for fighting. Drifloon, learn defog. Alright. So, let's get out of here. And by the way, the item that you get for going all the way through the Ruined Maniac's Cave when you caught all 26 unknowns is a stupid rare candy. Now, I'm aware that rare candies are, as their name implies, rare, but they're nearly not valuable enough so that one of them would be worth catching 26 unknowns, especially since it can get rather tedious when you're missing just one or something like that. So no, there's going to be no unknown catching in this video, or in this LP as a matter of fact. So now we're back into the Plinko field, and I'm just going to head back to the Pokemon Center to heal myself, since we're going to head to the Lost Tower, which is going to be fairly intensive on my Crunch PP, and since I only have 15 of it, I'm going to have to be careful with it in order to not need to backtrack too much to replenish the PP. And you remember where the Lost Tower is, right? It's just south of Solaceon. It's, as you'll see, pretty much an equivalent of the Lavender Tower in Kanto. And there are tombstones everywhere, and psychics, and oh yeah, of course, wild ghost Pokemon aplenty, especially Ghastlies. There are also Zubats and Duskulls here, I believe, but the big thing here is Ghastly. So anyway, this place is perfect for talking about everybody's favorite ghost, or not, depending on which side of the fence you're on. Shanderaa! Yes, of course, the huge dominating force of this very early Generation 5 metagame is already the subject of much debate only 2 months after the games came out, and people are debating whether to send it to Ubers or not, and in what form. Because, yes, as you probably remember if you paid attention to Dream World abilities, Shanderaa got the big end of the stick with Shadow Tag. Now, I don't know what Game Freak was thinking when they gave that thing Shadow Tag, because usually ultra broken stuff is only supposed to be meant for Pokemon that are weak otherwise. Shanderaa can already fend for itself very, very well even without Shadow Tag. So why they gave it Shadow Tag, I absolutely have no idea. That was a terrible decision no matter how you slice it. But yeah, if you've been playing competitive Generation 5, and I'm talking about the Dream World metagame here, where all Dream World abilities are allowed without restriction, which is by far the most popular metagame. It's about 4 times as popular as the real metagame with only the Dream World abilities that have actually been released. So from now on, I'm just going to be talking about the Dream World metagame when it comes to that whole thing about Shanderaa. Now, this isn't an unfamiliar scenario at all, because back in very, very early Generation 4, as you'll recall, Blissey was extremely dominant, and I would even dare say it was statistically just as dominant as Shanderaa is. So I'm just going to use defog here, even though the fog is not that thick, because, well, it makes it a lot easier to make out what's a tombstone, what's a trainer, what's something else. So anyway, I was talking about Blissey circa 2007, and I don't know if you'll agree with me, probably though, but the difference between then and now is that having a super dominant Pokemon that doesn't allow you to switch is... Oh, wow! You got here this huge, tough guy, this, well, I call them Hell's Angels back in Red, but he's got a freaking Clef. This is like the last Pokemon I would expect to see on a guy like that, especially with, that vest with the Gyarados on it, if you check closely enough, and he's got a Clef. But, yeah, the thing is that a Pokemon that doesn't even allow you to switch is a lot more difficult to counter than just something that sponges hits really well. And that's basically the key difference here between then and now. Because in Generation 4, eventually Blissey's usage went down. It even finished Generation 4 way out of the top 10. But Shanderaa may be another thing entirely. With that being said, I don't think it's a good idea to take action too quickly, because if we did that in Generation 4, Blissey would have spent at least a while in Ubers, and as history eventually came to prove, it was completely unnecessary. So then what? If eventually Shadow Tag Shanderaa really doesn't slow down and has to be banned, how do we ban it? There are a few ways to do so, and each of them have their advantages and their inconvenience. The first one would be to ban Shanderaa altogether. However, there's always the issue, as many of the people who are against this way of doing things have brought up, it's that you'd eventually ban also Flashfire Shanderaa, which could... It's less broken, but it still could make for a very interesting Pokemon to use in Overused. No, I'm not going to teach it Follow Me, thank you very much. But, yeah. So, there's another way of doing things that more people favor, and that would be banning Shadow Tag. However, applying the same logic as what I just said for banning Shanderaa, there is another Pokemon other than Shanderaa and Wobbuffet that gets Shadow Tag, and it's Gochiruzeru. And is Shadow Tag Gochiruzeru breaking things right now? No, it isn't. Even though nobody really knows it, if it's because nobody bothers using it because Shandera's there, but still nobody seems to talk about it as a threatening force that's anywhere close. Oh man, I'm forced to use defog on every floor, it seems. Well, I'm just gonna have to do it, even though, as I said, that fog's not nearly thick enough to really hide anything well. But yeah, Gochiruzeru isn't in Shanderea's league at all. So if you ban Shadow Tag, you also ban Shadow Tag Gochiruzeru, which is just as unfair as banning Flashfire Shanderaa in a way. And there is another way of banning Shadow Tag Shanderaa, and that would be banning the combination of Shadow Tag and Shanderaa. But doing so, and I'm sure you're seeing me coming, would open a huge Pandora's box, and I'm talking about the Greek mythology woman, not the Pokemon. But yeah, if we do that, then who's to stop us from banning every little combination that might prove to be a little bit too broken? Like, for example, let's allow Scizor, but only if it doesn't have Bullet Punch. Let's allow Emerald Deoxys, but only if it has less than 96 speed EVs. Let's ban Garchomp unless it's got no held item and it's not on the same team as Tyranitar or Hippowdon. Yeah, you may remember that last one from that tournament organized by Nintendo of Greece, and back then I said that it was a good idea to do so, but I was mostly referring to the fact that a Nintendo division, any Nintendo division, was acknowledging the fact that there was something wrong with Garchomp. I wasn't talking about the idea of banning very, very specific stuff. And yes, by the way, I know that there are held items that are specific to certain Pokemon that are banned in various metagames. For example, the Soul Dew in Standard and the Deep Sea Tooth in Little Cup. But it's because, well, those are specific to certain Pokemon. For example, let's take the Soul Dew example. It only does something to Latias and Latios, but it doesn't do shit on anything else. So banning it for everyone isn't unfair to anyone, since it already does nothing to anyone but Latias and Latios. So I think the moment you have to ban something, you have to ban it for everyone. And as I said, banning Shanderaa or Shadow Tag individually isn't fair to Flashfire, Shanderaa, or Shadow Tag Gochiruzeru. Now you're probably asking yourselves which avenue I prefer. Personally, I'd favor a ban on Shanderaa, but that's just me. Feel free to disagree. There will certainly be other people to say that banning Shadow Tag as a whole is a better idea, but yeah, I don't think anyone is ready to open the can of worms of banning very specific combinations. And now, as a reminder, I'm talking about banning Pokemon and stuff, but the ban list right now is very, very short. It's a lot shorter than it used to be in Generation 4. And among the Pokemon that are no longer Uber, at least for the time being, Mew is allowed in Standard, so is Wobbuffet, which is somewhat of a surprise considering it held its own very, very well in Generation 4 Uber, but then again, being banned from Standard doesn't have to do with your performances in Uber, but rather in Standard, so I can sort of understand that. Latias and Latios are allowed without Soul Dew, of course. All the Deoxys forms are allowed now as well, and I always wanted to see how the Leaf Green version would fare on in Standard, and now I guess we're gonna get to see it in action, though the fact that, oh yeah, Psybeam on a Dark type! Way to go, Metronome! But yeah, I was talking about Deoxys. I would definitely watch out for the Fire Red and Emerald forms, because I'm half expecting them to head back to Ubers at some point in time. Of course, my hunch could be entirely wrong, but that still remains to be seen. Other than that, what is allowed? Garchomp is now allowed. So is Salamence, by the way. Garchomp is not that much of a surprise. Everyone expected it to come back down, because it has very clearly stagnated. And in this power creep context we're in, stagnating means falling way, way back. So it's no surprise that Garchomp is making a comeback. And other than that, Darkrai and Sky Shaman are allowed as well. Darkrai is another surprise, considering it has an excellent stat spread and the always threatening Dark Void. I'm looking forward to seeing how that is going to work out. Now, you know what? I'm not quite done with this subject, and we're already coming close to the end of this video. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to save this video, and after that, I'm going to give you a little present today. I'm going to make a double program so that I can finish what I was talking about. So I'll see you in a few minutes for the end of the Lost Tower.